want to bring in Google now. And as I mentioned, this is a live session, so please submit your questions on the chat on the platform. I'll be keeping an eye across them and we'll try and get through as many as possible. But very pleased to say we can now welcome Tina Piccone, the Managing Director, Telco Media Entertainment and Gaming from Google Cloud. Tina, thank you very much for joining us. A lot of people have got a lot of questions for you. This is going to be a very interesting chat. George, I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Great, thank you very much. Tina, lovely to catch up with you again.
Nice seeing you.
We were talking about operators teaming up with hyperscalers. We're looking at creating emerging and collaborating on emerging technologies to create new solutions and services. From Google's perspective and your perspective, where are the big opportunities?
Great question, and thank you for having me, and lovely to be here this morning. So, our afternoon, depending on where you are. 5G is a technology enabler to create a vast landscape of new opportunities. So if you think about it, you have CSPs, you have hyperscalers, you have developers. So why is it important? If you think about it, 5G is the first native network born in the cloud. So think about that for a minute. We've been through 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. Now we have 5G. 5G, again, born in the cloud. It gives higher agility. It gives the advantage of a lower cost structure. It also gives the ability for continuous automation. It's the first time that one size doesn't fit all. It provides a combination of key capabilities. It provides such as latency, speed, agility, ability at performance to meet every requirement with every new use case. It is endless, and we can reimagine, we can rethink how to actually delight our customers in an entirely new way. It is really leading the future. It's not just faster, but it can replace what we have and provide us with the tools that we need to be innovative, bold, and build a new world, not only that adds value to consumers, but to businesses as well.
So Tina, whenever we talked earlier, we looked at various opportunities and looked at the art of the possible in different industries. We picked out 2 or 3. Would you just share some of those ideas that we bandied around whenever we were chatting earlier?
Absolutely. So a couple is, and I'm going to give you some real-time examples. So unfortunately, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. No one more than me would rather be on a plane and be with you all and be somewhere else. So if you think about it, think about retail. How has it changed what we do? We now have a demand for self-service. We now have a demand for online ordering, for delivery, for pickup, for picking up in the store, for video-driven. To be able to have security, line management, real-time stocking, all of that has to be enabled. 5G can do that. Think about healthcare. New pathways for CSP to serve enterprises like the healthcare industry. How does it matter to us? A hospital has an amazing amount of IoT devices connected. With the power of 5G, you can use it for real-time patient monitoring. You can be able to analyze that data and then have actionable insights to treat patients. Think about manufacturing. You can also use it to industrialize manufacturing plants, and no time is more critical than now. You can enhance efficiencies, you can enhance productivity. And as one who knows with frictionless shopping, we need it now, especially as they're saying toilet paper could be an issue again. Are we going to be able to find it? This enables us to be able to do it in a way that is going to allow the technology for speed and agility.
So we're actually looking at the large operators, and we've actually heard from a number today as we've been going through our sessions, and they're announcing partnerships with the hyperscalers. Now, not one size fits all, but is there room in the marketplace for 3, 4, 5 hyperscalers?
Absolutely. There is a need for a robust 5G ecosystem, including CSPs, hyperscalers, developers, SIs. If you think about it, we need the ecosystem to come together to create, to manage, and to sell solutions, all enabled by 5G across every industry and for every consumer journey of a lifetime. Think about it. It's born in the cloud. Hyperscalers can deliver at scale, performance, reliability, low-cost infrastructure, and CSPs are seeking network edge. We're seeking BSS, OSS. Absolutely, there is room for all of us to play. I think that is critical and the one point to get across.
Now, several questions starting to come in, and please do send your questions through. But Tina, one question for you. Picking up on a theme we heard a little bit earlier today as well, when we asked about what are the barriers to CSPs adopting and moving into public cloud. One of the concerns that comes up time and time again revolves around security and privacy. And very different views expressed even in our earlier session around, well, hyperscalers are actually perhaps more secure, other concerns about that. But one particular question coming in from Kelvin related to that is, how can you work with hyperscalers when you're dealing with different regulatory environments, different data privacy requirements? How well can something like Google Cloud help service providers navigate a pretty complex landscape?
Great question, first of all, and great, thanks for asking. I think that is the key. It's the ability for us to be able to pivot, to understand all of the different regulations, whether it's financial, whether it's healthcare, and ensure that security, ensure that we are not going to have an issue in the marketplace. And that is number one and key and pivotal in everything we do. Security is table stakes foundation. It has to start with security. And I believe not only myself, but every one of my competitors would say the same. Security is pivotal. And then it is understanding what they're trying to do and ensuring that we know every regulation, every law, how to do it and make it effortless for them, because that is the whole point. We need to have an effortless way of addressing each one.
Tina, I'm just moving on from that. I mean, you're focusing there on security, but let's talk about outages as well, because where we are at the moment, we are sort of, 24 hours on from a very major outage. Okay, not you, but it's one of those things that when Possible Partners looks at the whole infrastructure, looks at the whole industry, they will hear the word outages. And it is impossible for anybody like yourself to guarantee 100% resilience 100% of the time.
You're absolutely right. I wish we could. I wish there was a magic button that says we are never going to be down. But I think that's where, when you start looking at this technology, that's where the strength lies in. It's how to ensure that we are up as much as possible. And you'll find I never will ever dish one of our competitors, because we could be in the same boat tomorrow. And so you'll find that the way I look at it is we do everything to enable this technology being born in the cloud to ensure it is up, to ensure that there is no outages, to have that load balancing, to have that approach. And I know that that is the case with our competitors. Sometimes accidents happen. Sometimes we're not able to, but the goal is to always be up in this 24/7 environment, because when we're down, everyone's down, and nobody likes that. We all want to be up and active at all times, and it's critical and key, especially in the middle of COVID.
I just, out of interest, when you're talking about building partnerships, do you build some sort of percentage of resilience into those partnerships? You know, your KPIs of what you will promise them, because you know they have to promise their customers something, and basically their resilience is now in your hands.
That's correct. We are all tied together. I think that is the one thing this brings. It actually ties us together with a common goal. And without that common goal, we're not going to win. And so we have to partner in a different way than anybody has ever seen in the marketplace. We have to look at the 5.9 reliability. We have to be able to say, what can we do differently? How do we partner? And you have to now take the what ifs. What if this happens? What's our backup plan? What if that happens? What are we going to do? How are we going to address? How are we going to scale? We have to be able to pivot on a dime, and we have to ensure that we can do it not only for us, but our customers. So we are all together in this. Whether anybody will say differently, I would doubt it, because we are combined in a chain. And that chain link has to ensure every link is strong and secure.
I think that's a really interesting point to pick up on, Tina. I mean, you're in a unique position of having worked for a large operator in your career, also now working for a large hyperscaler. You'll be all too familiar with that 5.9s mentality from the classical telco thinking. Could you perhaps help us understand a little more about within Google Cloud, how do you think about five nines? And is it a different approach from the way, say, a telco traditionally might have thought about that?
Great question. So yes, I spent many years in a traditional telco, and I will tell you, loved every moment of it. Um, it gave me that sense to be able to say, this is what good looks like, this is the art of possible, and this is how we get there. Now, working for a hyperscaler, I take that same mentality as well as saying, how can we ensure that stability, that reliability that not only are they used to, but they demand? Every telco demands it because every telco is critical to the infrastructure built across every country and across the world. So we have to have that built into everything we do and have to be able to look across now and say, if we're enabling the networks, if we're enabling this cloud journey, how can we do it together and how can we scale it together? So it has to be at the forefront of everything we do.
Yasmin, I've seen you sort of nodding at some points during this. What would you want to come in with for Tina?
Well, I think it's interesting, and I'd love to hear how your thoughts on how things have changed in the last 12 months. What are you hearing from some of the operators you're engaging with?
I think that's the beauty of it. I think that is right now in the last 12 months, we are seeing more and more use cases that we never thought to be possible, to be honest. We're still at the just the touch infrastructure of the possibility of what 5G holds. I think when you look at cross, at what it can enable in healthcare, in finance, in retail, we are just now discovering that it's endless possibilities. And especially in the last 12 months, all being stuck in our homes for the most part, um, that's enabled us to really think differently. It's enabled us to say, how can we co create together? How can we do things better together? How can we enable you to do more and even start to look at monetizing those services? Because now we've had to change everything we've done and look at everything from a different perspective. Grocery stores are not operating the same. Restaurants are not operating the same. Hospitals are not operating the same. So now we are forced to think differently. We are forced to now be trained in technology that perhaps we were kicking down the road. We now have to look at digital transformation in a hyperscale way because it's here. And COVID, if nothing else, has engaged us to say we have to work, think, and act different than we did before. And I think that's critical to everything that we're looking at in the future.
So Tina, you've made the case that says there's room in the marketplace for multiple hyperscalers. If I'm an operator and my CFO or my CEO is coming to me as the CTO or CIO and saying, George, you need to choose a hyperscaler. Do I just pick one? Do I go with multiple hyperscalers? Where do I actually look for a sweet spot to say, this is the deal for me?
No, I think that there is room for all of us. Absolutely. So, and I've said that before, there's absolute room for all of us. So I really believe in that synergistic partnership between CSPs. I also believe that we create outcomes and values for customers. However, there is room for everyone. You have to look at the key areas. You have to look at go to market. You have to look at AI, ML, network automation, modernization. You have to look at IT and network infrastructures. You have to look at what's built cloud native, 5G, core RAN. You have to look at network on the edge. You have to look at platforms for enterprise. And then you have to say, which strategy best is going to fit our needs? I would also say you would benefit from these technology advancements and protect them if you don't have a vendor lock-in. If you have that multi-approach, multi-cloud approach, you've got to be able to serve the needs of your business.
So we're trying to make the case then, whenever we talk with hyperscalers, about friend or foe, because there are those operators that see the hyperscalers as a threat. They've got enormous network coverage, they've got enormous network capability, and they can manage IT maybe more efficiently, certainly in the infrastructure layer, than operators ever could. So friend or foe from an operator perspective and from your hyperscale perspective, Tina, please.
Yeah, no worries. I look at it, I never look at foes. I always look at friends. So let me start with that. And you'll find, I think that's the biggest piece of it. we've got to be able to form these strategic partnerships. And we've got to be able to do a bit more than we've seen. And we've got to look at how to transform. You've got to look at growth. You've got to look at margins. You've got to be able to say, how can we fully embrace this in a different way? So the only way to do that is to reach out and have the hyperscalers to be able to say, let us extend your knowledge. Let us extend where you are. Let us extend your workforce. This is a whole new ball game from a training perspective. This is a whole new ball game from a skill perspective. We've got to be able to have those strategic partnerships and partner together, and to be an actual friend to say, let's change the world together. My goodness, this is the one time and one chance we're going to have to do it. So why aren't we joining arms and doing it together? I've never understood that faux concept. To me, you've got to be able to build a bridge and break down those barriers and walls.
Tina, we heard from Microsoft and AT&T just a few minutes before we spoke to you, and one of the last points that they were talking about was the importance of data. Who can see data? Who holds data? Who views it? And it was made very clear that actually the data stayed with AT&T, Microsoft not able to view it. So can Google see data?
You know, we're the same. We are one that protects data, again, with everything we have. It's foundational and core. If you think about it, look at the security that we have. All of it is foundational and core because we are the exact same in that regard. Data is a personal choice.
So by saying a personal choice, does that mean that somebody who works with you, a partner who works with you, can keep their own data that you cannot access?
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Georgia, do you want to come in on that?
No, that's just very clear in terms of obviously the protection around the data, the encryption, the privacy that Google offers and the other hyperscale providers offer. And I think that is increasingly going to be important for the operators whenever they're making decisions about how they hand over one of their probably most valuable assets to the custodianship of the hyperscalers and have absolute confidence in the privacy and security of that information.
Tina.
Absolutely. If we break that confidence, we all are going to suffer for it. So we have to be able to provide that confidence.
Tina Piccone from Google Cloud, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day and a great conference. It's fabulous.